want to point out that the sun shines down its power to all the world and makes the wind blow strong as it will. I want to hope gentle rains can fall upon the land, so lovely earth can stay lovely still. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the, what number is it, Tom? 474th edition?
That sounds good.
Yeah, the 474th edition of Energy Week with George Harvey, me, and the amazing Tom Fennell.
In the flesh.
Okay, I'm going to start this show off with a little announcement. Today, we're recording this on the 2nd of June, 2012.
Okay.
The first post to my blog was on the 2nd of June, we're on 2022. The first post to the blog was on the 2nd of June, 2012. So today is the 10th anniversary of my blog.
Of your blog.
And I have posted every day in those 10 years.
Never missed a day, huh?
Not missed a day.
And this is the best of the blog.
This is what we're showing is the best of the blog. And for those who are interested, every day I get news on energy and climate change and a few other things that are related and post them to the blog. And then about usually 3, sometimes 2, sometimes 4, but usually 3 items from each day are...
It's almost always 3.
Almost always. And
so what we're saying here is the best of the blog.
That's right. That's right. And we're going to start... Oh, I should just mention that if for people who are want to look these things up, you can go to geoharvey.com, which is where my blog is, and click on the date. We're starting on the 26th of May. We will try to keep you apprised, but there's also a file that has the links in it it has the pictures also to the various items that we talk about.
The ones that we're going to talk about.
Right, and there is a blog online that you can go to and do that. And I always say, look down that way. Only sometimes I say look down that way because I forget which is which.
Well, some of these things, there's always some very interesting articles.
Yes.
I'll try to mention them if I can, and some of them well worth looking at.
Well, the one that I like the best is the last one this week about the train.
That's interesting.
It's an interesting article. It's fun.
And there's a video on that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can see the train going up and down, or there's a truck.
Okay. I'm gonna go to the first picture we've got.
Well, let's see if I can't get that up. I bet you I can if I try hard enough.
I think you can. There you go. Now, I wonder how many people looking at that would realize that that is a robot.
I don't think very many people who look at that have absolutely any idea what that is.
Yeah, this is May 26th we're looking at, and this is from World Nuclear News.
Well, it's a robot for debris collection, and that's probably pretty big.
I have no idea how big it is. It looks to me like this picture was taken sideways.
Yeah, it looks like it was, as a matter of fact. Yep.
Anyway, what do you got for a title for the article?
Jacobs, the company, develops a robot for Fukushima debris sampling.
So they built this robot and it's more than 10 years since the Fukushima disaster.
Well, Fukushima is still pretty dirty.
It's still pretty dirty. They had to
People
design.
People aren't going there.
Yeah. The USA engineering group Jacobs has designed and built a remotely operated robotic tool to investigate debris in damaged reactors at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant in Japan. 11 years after the meltdown at Fukushima in March 2011, it will be possible to get samples. So they've had no samples for 11 years. And part of the reason for that is because it's so radioactive that a lot of electronic parts just get fried.
Well, TEPCO has been using remote techniques to investigate the condition of the reactors.
Yes.
To promote the decommissioning process at Fukushima.
Right.
Okay. They haven't sent any people in there.
Oh, no, not at all.
This particular device will collect pebble-like debris
Yes.
that was deposited at the bottom of the reactor containment vessel
Yes.
following the meltdown.
Yeah.
And this is the takeaway. The nature of the debris is currently unknown.
I can tell you a little about that nature of that debris. First, it's radioactive.
Yes, it is.
You do not want to haul this stuff around in your pocket. Okay.
Well, they're trying to get to the bottom of it, but it's going to be quite a while before they are.
Yeah.
So let's move along here. We got a picture of an Earl rig.
An Earl rig?
Earl rig
Is that how that's pronounced?
in Brooklyn.
Oh, okay. This is from CNN.
Big oil, flush with cash, is failing on climate pledges.
In 2020, with profits down due to pandemic and lockdowns, fossil fuel companies responded to pressure and announced bold plans to invest in clean energy. Now, with the profits high and the oil giants back in their pre-pandemic profitability, the push toward green reform appears to have taken the back seat.
Well, they're avoiding doing it while they can avoid it.
Yeah.
It's going to cost them money. They don't want to pay the money,
And in the end, it's going to lose the money. The fact that
it's going to have to be done. I mean, they're just putting off the Day of Atonement there.
Yeah.
It's a little surprised then that their report cards on the environment look abysmal. From the article. Major oil companies, quote, fail to meet the bare minimum for alignment with the Paris Agreement.
Yeah.
So they're goofing it. They're goofing off.
Yes, they're goofing off and putting money in their pockets at the same time. Okay, we've got an item from CNN here.
And we got a funny looking picture here.
A picture of
I've never seen one of them before.
That's a pump jack. I remember seeing pictures when I was in grade school. Excuse me, of pump jacks on the lawn of the State House in Oklahoma.
Well, I can believe that. Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't going to lose any money. Okay, what do you got for a title?
Interior Department announces $33 million to clean up 277 methane spewing wells on federal land.
Okay.
There are millions more.
Yeah, a few. Officials in the Interior Department and the White House announced they will spend $33 million to clean up 277 orphan oil and gas wells on federal lands in 9 states. States have identified over 130,000 orphan wells to work on.
Well, the EPA estimates there are around 3 million idle or unproductive oil and gas wells.
Right.
That's a lot of wells.
Yeah.
And methane from the wells is a super pollutant, as we've mentioned on the show. That's 80 times more potent than carbon dioxide.
Yes.
Its only blessing is that it doesn't last as long as carbon dioxide.
It lasts long enough.
Long enough to be a problem.
Yeah, 130,000 orphan wells. Now, the reason why there's so many wells that are non-productive and then there's 130,000 orphan wells is because the orphan wells belonged at one time to companies that are no longer in business.
Big bankrupt.
They have gone out of business.
Yeah.
And so the people make their money and they go away and they leave the mess behind.
They keep their money.
Yeah.
And this leaves the debris behind.
And this is limited liability. It's like you have a neighbor and he throws his trash in your backyard. And for some reason, you can't make him come and pick it up again.
Well, he just moved. He doesn't live there anymore.
Yeah. Okay, we're up to Friday, May 27th.
All day. There's an interesting picture here. Let's get this one.
This is a picture of the largest nuclear power plant in Europe.
Well, it's got 6 reactors showing there.
It does. That's what it has. This is from
2 cooling towers.
Yeah.
These are nuclear. Why do they have chimneys?
You know, Tom, I don't know why nuclear plants have chimneys, but they do.
I mean, there's 2 big tall ones, and
one of them,
each reactor has a small chimney.
Yeah, and one of those 2 big tall ones looks like it's got smoke coming out of the top.
Something's coming out of the top, yeah.
This is from France 24.
Well, I'll let you try and pronounce the name of the nuclear plant.
Zaporizhia?
Hey, good job.
You think so? It's just a guess.
Should the war in Ukraine spur a nuclear security rethink?
Yeah, good idea. With Russia's invasion of Ukraine, nuclear facilities have been caught in the midst of conventional warfare for the first time in history. That scenario, a nightmare that has now turned into a reality, is one of the things that few of the industry's players had ever anticipated. The idea of a nuclear power plant having armies running by it, and people,
that never occurred to anybody.
It never occurred to anybody. It's like, no, we never thought of that. Why would that ever happen? And this particular plant is a Ukrainian plant which was taken over by the Russian military and is in the hands...
Not knowing what they were doing, seemingly. Well, this Chernobyl plant, it remains active.
Yes.
36 years after the worst nuclear accident in history.
Yes.
So this is nothing to fool around with. The dismantling of the site's reactors is still in progress. And some 22,000 highly radioactive spent fuel assemblies are being kept in storage pools that require constant cooling.
Yeah.
This is
not
trivial.
A joke. This is serious. And on top of everything else, the Russians insist that the Ukrainians have to pay for the electricity this thing is making, even though because it's in Russian hands.
Well,
they took it over.
Nice to ask it.
They took it over. That electricity has to go somewhere. And as far as I can tell, they're still supplying electricity to the Ukraine out of these reactors. And Russia wants...
Russia wants to be
They want to be paid. They took this plant over. They claim it was fair and square. They want to be paid. And of course, this is like... It's like, I had an uncle who...
I did too once.
Did you?
Yeah.
My uncle would say to his kids when he got exasperated with them, why don't you go play in the traffic? And that's what this war is. Except
really.
This is serious. Yeah. It's like children playing in the traffic. These things, each one of these reactors could be a massive dirty bomb. All you got to do is shoot it, and it is going to be spewing radioactive nonsense.
The Russians are getting sick and everything else from playing games in
Chernobyl.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're treating this whole thing as though it's, so what? Safety? Are you kidding me? This is a war.
Yeah. Well, let's move along. We got a picture here of some wind turbines.
We do indeed. These are wind turbines. This particular article comes from CNN. And
there we go. There's some wind turbines.
That's wind turbines.
Looks like wind turbines to me.
Yep. That came from Unsplash, which means that I went and got it because it wasn't with the article.
Uh-huh. Well, there's a 2.5-minute video in this article that's worth looking at. Energy Secretary blasts Russia for, quote, weaponizing energy.
Yeah.
Which is just exactly what he's doing.
Absolutely. Speaking at a GE wind turbine testing facility, Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm said Russia is, quote, weaponizing energy, which is another reason why, as a nation, we should move to energy sources that cannot be weaponized, end quote.
Which is renewables.
Yeah. She pointed out that wind and solar power can't be weaponized. Okay, the administration is backing new nuclear power plants, and I got news for you. Nuclear power plants can be weaponized. And in a way that solar and wind power cannot be.
Well, they don't talk about nuclear here. They talk about wind and solar.
They kind of ignore the nuclear.
Well, what does weaponized mean?
Well, it means that in one way or another, you've turned it into a weapon. And in the Ukraine war, Russia has been trying to blackmail Europe into basically allowing them to do what they want to do, which is take over the Ukraine. And it hasn't worked. The Europeans are not...
They took over part of it.
They have so far taken over part of it, and a fairly large chunk. And what they wanted was to have a land border that goes to Crimea, which they had already
took over. Yeah.
And nobody aside from a couple of countries that are allied with Russia, and Russia itself recognizes Crimea as part of Russia, but they want to take over these eastern areas so they can have roads going to Crimea. And also, there are other things going on there. But they have weaponized the natural gas that they are supplying to Europe by saying, if you
got to pay in rubles, or
exactly, or we're not going to supply you with the natural gas.
So by weaponizing, they're saying, you do what we want you to do, or you can't do what you want to do.
That's right. And they've done it with natural gas. They're doing it with oil. They're doing it. They probably are already doing it with coal.
Granholm was on top of this. This is a quote from her.
Yeah. Wind
and solar power can't be weaponized.
Yeah.
No country has ever been held hostage to access to the sun. No one has ever been held hostage to access to wind. And we need to move to sources of energy that are not weaponized.
Right. And by the way, if you track down where fuel for nuclear power plants comes from, across the world, a lot of that fuel comes from Russia, or it comes through Russia.
Does it, huh?
Yeah, a lot of it comes from or through Russia.
That's interesting. And we've talked about nuclear here, and I don't see why people keep trying to use it. It's so damn expensive.
Kind of expensive, yes. The Scottish government has gone to the UK government and said, why are you trying to build nuclear power plants? We've got all these wind turbines.
They've been trying for about 10 years to build one.
Yeah. And they're over budget, they're behind schedule, everything's, and the new small modular reactors, in my opinion, are not capable of helping because
they don't seem to be.
Well, nobody's ever built one.
No, they're talking about them, yeah.
Unless you count.
We had a picture of one last week.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to that one?
I don't know. I will say that if you look at the reactors that they have in nuclear powered ships, those reactors
they're pretty small.
It's pretty small. And they can do things that the reactors that we have on the grid can't do, like ramp up and down fast. But, we had, I forget how many, it might have been a dozen, it might have been 10.
It's in that vicinity.
Nuclear powered cruisers at one time.
Did we?
Yes.
That many?
We had a bunch, and some of them never had their fuel replaced because it was so expensive to run those ships that they were basically put out of commission.
Well, it makes sense for a submarine.
It sure does.
And it makes sense for a carrier.
Absolutely. I agree.
But I don't think it makes much sense for a cruiser.
No, and in fact, I would go further and say it doesn't make any sense anywhere aside from submarines and aircraft carriers. Yeah, I was amazed when I did some research on aircraft carriers and found that during the Second World War, if you counted the time it took the aircraft carrier to come offline, go to a refueling place, and then get back online, and you went through the carrier's life, they spent a third of their time refueling or going to and from places that they could refuel.
I'll be darned.
And aircraft carriers were lost during that time. The Wasp was sunk at a time when it was going to or from a refueling station, which was, hooking up next to a ship.
When I was in the Navy, they got refueled at sea.
Yeah, these things were being refueled at sea. But, they had to move around to get to where they were. Okay.
Well, we got a picture here coming up.
We do.
And let's look at the picture. What is that?
What is that? I don't know, Tom. What is it?
Well, it says it's a Block Island wind farm.
Oh, I know the Block Island wind farm. 5 turbines. Okay. This is from Renews.
Mayflower Wind files PPAs, power purchasing agreements.
Yes.
For approval.
Mayflower Wind filed 20-year power purchase agreements with the Massachusetts Department of Public Utilities to supply 3 of the state's largest utilities for...
They're 20-year power purchase agreements.
Yeah.
They're good. They're serious about this.
Yeah, 1,200 megawatts of electricity, which is 1.2 gigawatts, generated by offshore wind facilities. Mayflower Wind won bids for the electricity in 2019 and 2021.
So they're set for 20 years.
Yeah. Well, from the time the wind turbines are put up, which they haven't been yet. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Approval of the power purchasing agreements triggers the release of Mayflower's 20-year commitment to expend $120 million on economic development investments that will support ports and infrastructure.
That's right, which includes things like
training,
all kinds of facilities that are going to be in various places, mostly in Massachusetts. Yeah. Okay, we should go on.
Let's move on here. We got another one
picture
coming
of
up
a
on
Tesla,
Saturday, the 28th. Let's put that.
Oh yes,
picture
it
up.
is.
That's a Tesla Model S charging at a Shell station.
Yes, that's
but
right.
It's not in America.
How do you know it's not in America?
The license plate.
Oh, the license plate. Well, the license plate is blocked out, but I think you're right.
It's the wrong shape.
Yeah, you sure are right. Okay, this is from Clean Technica.
It's a Tesla Model S charging up at a Shell gas station. And didn't I say that?
Yes, you did. You're supposed to read the article's title. Not
a year after the Shell ruling, quote, big victories and next steps for climate litigation.
Yeah.
What's all of that mean, George?
Well, let me read this, and then maybe we can figure it out. A year has passed since a precedent-setting court ruling in the Netherlands, well, that's probably where that picture is, ordered Shell to cut its activities' carbon emissions by 45% compared to 2019 levels to align with the Paris Climate Agreement. Since then, other climate litigation has followed, and there is more coming.
Well, the report found that fossil fuel companies fully understood their products' impact on climate change as early as 1965.
Yeah.
When they wrote about it, their own scientists wrote about it. Instead of warning the world and transitioning away from fossil fuels, the industry spent the last 50 plus years spreading disinformation. They wouldn't do that. And obstructing government action.
Yeah. I was going through some stuff last week, and came across a video, I think it was on YouTube, in which there was a discussion of the climate problems. I remember where this was. Do you remember that there was a newswoman named Jessica Savage?
No.
She was very famous, a national news person, who unfortunately, at a fairly young age, was in a car that went off a bank into a river or a canal, and she died. And I think that was 1983. And so it was almost 40 years ago. And I saw one of her last broadcasts, and she was talking about climate change in 1983 on television. Yeah, people knew.
Well, as a takeaway from this article here, the industry's actions were driven, quote, not by ignorance, but by greed.
Oh, man. No doubt about that. Okay. We have a picture of tankers off the coast of California. And this
is real. They're all over the place.
Yeah, they're all over the place. But, I'll bet they're not there anymore because the oil has more value, so it's being offloaded.
My God, it's over $6 at the pump.
Man.
I've never seen a price that high.
No, neither has anybody else. At least not in this country. This is from Clean Technica.
Massachusetts court rules a suit against Exxon can move forward. Well, that's good news.
Yep. The Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court has ruled against Exxon in its bid to stop a suit filed by Attorney General Maura Healey from going to trial. Massachusetts alleges that Exxon lied about the climate crisis and covered up the fossil fuels industry's role in it.
Oh, they wouldn't do a thing like that.
Oh, man.
All of America's current culture wars is most likely a smokescreen designed to hide the extent to which the national and state governments are funded by money from the oil patch.
Yeah, we've got this thing where big companies can fund the campaigns, electoral
campaigns. That's the whole point. The guy needs money to run again, so...
Yeah, so...
hand is out.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We should move on, Tom. And
Yeah, I
we've
think
got a
we
picture
should.
here that I think is quite remarkable.
Yeah. Oh, the picture came up already.
Those things that are standing up are expansion
I was
joints.
just going to say that. Well, this is a geothermal plant.
Which
And sometimes it's very hot and sometimes there's nothing in it.
Yes, and so it's got to expand between really, really cold and really, really hot. So they've built those big expansion joints, and the places where they take 90-degree turns are designed to bend slightly. And so that's what that's all about.
Well, I've never seen expansion joints like that, So this is pretty unusual stuff.
This is pretty unusual. Okay. What do you got for a title for the article?
What are geophones?
What are geophones? What's a geophone? Okay, geothermal energy is renewable, sustainable, and carbon-free. A key factor to unlocking that energy could be through innovation in subsurface seismic sensors, or geophones.
So that's what they are.
That's what they are. They're subsurface seismic sensors. The Department of Energy is offering $3.65 million to as an American-made geothermal geophone prize. Why is this article so difficult? To support development of geophones,
which are something that you can practically carry in your hand.
Yeah.
But you can see using these things basically what's going on in the ground.
Yeah.
And that's what they want to do.
I went to a this was probably it was more than 40 years ago. I went to a machine shop in New Jersey, and the guy in the machine shop was specializing in super accurate machining. And one thing that he had done was he had made 20 seismometers for the state of California. And these were special seismometers that were long with tubes, and they had, I think it was mercury running through them, but a very slight change in the position of the two ends to the tube would be registered on a recording device. And he made 21 of them in case one of them broke.
Okay.
And he managed to ship the 20, and he still had the 21st, so he set it up in his shop. And what he found was that this thing showed that the ground around was rolling constantly from about 5 a.m. until about 9 p.m. every day but Sunday.
What was happening? Something was happening.
Well, he turned it because it was directional. He turned it, and he found out that what he was picking up was tractor-trailer traffic on a highway that was 3 miles away.
Be darned.
So this is infrasound, which you hear about all the time with wind turbines, people being hurt by infrasound.
That sound we can't hear.
That sound we can't hear. And, there it was, tractor trailers 3 miles away every day, 6 days a week.
And on Sunday they took the day off.
And on Sunday they didn't have so many tractor trailers.
Yeah.
That's right. And honestly, I think infrasound is one of the reasons why a lot of people find it so relaxing to be near the beach, because the beaches have constant infrasound.
Yeah. Interesting point.
You can feel it from quite a ways away. Okay, we should go on. We're up to Sunday,
the
May
29th.
29th, and we have a picture of a nuclear power plant.
Is that what that is?
That's what it is.
Well, because
Yeah.
it's not a nuclear power
This
plant.
particular
It's
article...
only part of a nuclear power plant.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. This is from the Borneo Bulletin Online. How about that for
Well,
a
they
place?
got nuclear power in Borneo then, huh?
No, they don't. They're
don't.
talking about nuclear power in Borneo. Okay.
Nuclear power has no place in a renewables bill. Come on, you.
Activists are urging the Indonesian regulators to exclude nuclear energy development from the new and renewable energy bill, arguing that it would impede the country's transition to green energy. Quote, accommodating nuclear energy in the bill would hinder renewable energy development, end quote.
Well, the group that's behind it argues that energy from coal gasification and nuclear power plants would increase greenhouse gas emissions.
Yes. But money that goes into nuclear, if it were instead redirected to solar and wind, would produce a lot more energy.
I would think. Well, countries with an abundant renewable energy resources have started to abandon nuclear.
Yes.
Okay? It should be our last resort. And it's just not economical.
When I started doing this blog...
There's so many reasons to not use nuclear.
Yeah, when I started doing the blog, there were 104 nuclear plants running in the United States. Today, there's 92. We've lost 12 in the last 10 years.
Well, they're not making money.
They're not making money. Exactly.
That's what it's all about.
And now they were very proud at one time that they never got any subsidies, which is not exactly true because they had their massive insurance covered by the federal government.
By the federal government.
Their waste was covered by the federal government. But these days, they're looking for handouts.
Well, a takeaway from the article is a, quote, nuclear power plant is not likely to provide economic benefits. Okay? Indonesia has to learn from the scenarios of other countries before deciding on building a nuclear plant.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, our next item is from CNN. Whoops.
Picture here of
CNN.
IKEA.
It's an IKEA sign.
And by the way, what is IKEA?
It's a place
I'm
where
going to answer that.
Okay, go ahead.
It's
please
a
do.
Swedish-Dutch multinational conglomerate that designs and sells ready-to-assemble furniture. Okay, you buy it in a box, you put it together.
Yep.
The nearest store is in Stoughton, Mass., south of Boston. So there's no IKEAs around here.
I've been in that store south
Have
of
you?
Boston. Yeah. Okay, what do you have for a title for the article?
Soon you'll be able to buy solar panels at IKEA.
Yeah, south of Boston. Starting this fall, shoppers will be able to buy solar panels at IKEA stores. The new project, according to a news release, is a collaboration between IKEA's U.S. branch and SunPower, a California-based company that sells and installs solar power products, including solar panels.
Well, they say in this article that shoppers will be able to buy solar panels at IKEA alongside meatballs.
Yeah, they found that they could sell more furniture if they also sold meatballs.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what happened. Some of their restaurants were failing, so they started selling
meatballs.
And I guess they're pretty good meatballs.
I would imagine. We should move on, Tom. We're a little bit behind schedule.
The introduction of solar products is IKEA's latest eco-friendly initiative. And this is another thing they've done. Earlier this year, the company announced it would buy back used IKEA furniture from customers.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay, our next item is from Clean Technica.
We got a picture of a
We
DHL
have a picture
truck.
of a DHL truck. And
I guess that's a real truck.
That's a real truck.
That's in England.
I believe it's in downtown London, and they are excluding fossil fuel-powered vehicles from parts of downtown London.
Well, it looks like an English truck because the trucks in England are all short. They don't have long front ends like American trucks.
Okay.
I've ridden in one of those trucks. I was in Ireland. I was hitchhiking.
Yeah?
And you're way up in the air.
Yeah.
You're way the heck up there.
What do you got for a title for the article?
DHL orders some Volvo electric trucks.
Delivery company DHL has tested and used an electric truck in London since 2020, and the experience has been overwhelmingly positive. DHL has put in an order for 44 electric trucks from Volvo. The trucks will be deployed all over Europe. 4 of them will be larger trucks for long-distance work. The rest will be...
They're mostly they're delivery trucks in the neighborhood.
Yep.
By making final deliveries with the Volvo trucks,
Yeah.
emissions will be removed from the neighborhoods and the business districts.
What a good deal.
Okay. It is expected to save 600 tons of CO2 and 22,500 liters of diesel fuel. I didn't convert that one. That's
okay.
divided by about 4, huh? To get gallons.
3.5.
Yeah. Volvo and DHL didn't stop at just arranging a truck sale, though.
Yeah.
Volvo was going to give DHL vital information and work with it to maximize the good it gets out of the truck.
Giving information sounds like spies.
Uh-huh.
We should get going, Tom.
We should move on here to Monday, May 30th, and we got a picture here of
a bullet train.
A bullet train and a mountain.
Yeah, that looks like Mount Fuji, doesn't it?
It is Mount Fuji.
Okay.
Which is the tallest mountain in Japan.
Yeah.
It's almost 13,000 feet,
Yeah.
and it is a volcano.
And it is called Fujisan, which means,
That means something, doesn't it?
yeah, it's like, san is like Sir.
Sir Fuji, huh?
Sir Fuji, yeah. Okay, this is,
Faster, cleaner, greener. What lies ahead for the world's railways? This is an interesting article.
it is indeed. This is from CNN. Faster, cleaner, greener, and packed with advanced technology. Rail is the only transportation mode currently well-placed to provide the backbone of our future mobility needs. Ridership may be down due to the pandemic, but rail transportation may be headed toward a new golden age. And I disagree with this. There's another means of transit that is also well positioned to
It's
help.
not air.
I was going to say blimps,
Blimps. Okay.
dirigibles,
Okay.
whatever. Okay, have you got notes on that, or should we go on?
Well, China is building maglev lines.
Yes, that's
magnetic,
true. That's
magnetic levitation.
levitation, yeah.
So they're not going to be riding on rails.
Well, they're riding on something that's the equivalent to a rail.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And awareness of environmental damage caused by air travel has already led to a renaissance for overnight rail travel in Europe.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, I've mentioned this before. I used to live in New Hampshire and work in Washington, D.C.
And you took the train.
I would go down and then stay a month and come back for a weekend. And this was the thing that I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I could have gone down by plane, but it would have saved me an hour and a half in the trip. So why would I go by
worth it.
plane? It's just not worth it.
Well, by 2050, rail will form the backbone of our transport networks.
Yes.
Okay, with intercity routes between multimodal hubs feeding into local networks.
Yes.
Rail will play a greater role in international travel, providing high-quality alternative to road and short-haul air travel. Short-haul air travel is going to turn out just to be too expensive.
I think it's going to be electric. That's what they're doing in Norway. They've got a law saying it all has to be electric.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're
Okay.
ahead of the game, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Our next item is from Clean Technica.
And that is an all-electric Ford F-50 Lightning.
Yeah, that's what they say. What do you got for a title for the article?
Cars could get a flashy, quote, upgrade.
Yep. The average SUV has up to 350 kilograms of plastic. That's 771 pounds of plastic in a car.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
It could sit in a landfill for
there's a
centuries.
lot of plastic in a car. Look at your dashboard.
Yep. I don't have a dashboard.
You don't have a car.
I don't have a car. It could sit in a landfill for centuries, except there's a new recycling process. Rice University chemists and researchers at the Ford Motor Company are turning plastic parts from end-of-life vehicles into graphene by using the university's flash Joule heating process.
Well, this is both interesting because you got to figure out what both of these things are.
Well,
the flash Joule heating process is they blast the heck out of this with electricity so it gets very hot very quick.
Yep.
Very hot and very quick. And graphene is a form of graphite.
I'm not going to let that quite go by.
Well, it's a form of carbon.
It's a form of carbon,
That's
for sure.
very similar to graphite.
Very similar to
It's
graphite.
an atomic scale, which means very small, lattice, made up of carbon atoms arranged in a window screen structure.
Graphite
They're flat.
is a crystal, believe it or not.
It is.
Which is basically layer after layer after layer after layer of
Very thin crystals.
yeah.
And these are these.
The graphene is one of those
One of
layers
those,
coming
yeah.
off. So it's
like a window screen.
one atom thick.
Yep.
And there you go. The graphene is used for some pretty peculiar purposes.
Well, it's about 100 times stronger than steel of the same thickness.
I don't think you could make steel of the same thickness.
Well, a flash Joule heating process recycles plastic into graphene for new vehicles.
Yeah.
Part of an old car turned into graphene could come back as a better part for a new car.
There you go.
But
Okay.
this flash Joule heating process, well, they just heated electricity very fast with a lot of electricity.
Yeah.
Poof.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yes, let's move on. We have a picture of the USS Arleigh Burke, and that is a destroyer. My father would have been
destroyer.
My father would have been amazed at the idea of the Arleigh Burke, which weighs something like displaces something like 9,000 tons, which is about 4.5 times as big as the destroyer he was on in the Second World War, which was big in those days. And where his destroyer had 5 guns, this has 1. But it's got a few other things.
Well, when I was in the Navy, Arleigh Burke was the head of the Navy.
Yeah.
He was the big boss man.
Yep.
In the crosshairs, Department of Navy releases climate change strategy.
Yes, the Department of the Navy has released its strategy on how to deal with climate change and proceed toward the government's goal of net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. The Navy Secretary said the issue is, quote, existential, end quote, for the Navy and Marine Corps. They're already having problems with ocean level rise because they've got docks that aren't working at high tide.
Yeah, they can't use them.
And you know, there are people who are saying this isn't happening, but it's happening.
Well, this is from the Navy Secretary.
Yes.
Quote, climate change is one of the most destabilizing forces of our time.
Yeah, I guess.
Exacerbating other national security concerns.
Yes.
Posing serious readiness challenges. Now, this guy is the Navy saying this. Our naval and amphibious forces are in the crosshairs of the climate crisis. And this strategy provides the framework to empower us to meaningfully reduce the threat of climate change.
Yep. Now we've got a picture that's kind of a pleasant picture.
Well, let's see if I can't pull it up. There it is.
There it is.
Shelf.
Yep, and I think
That's Los Angeles.
that must have been taken with a telephoto lens because the moon in the upper left-hand corner looks just too big.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yep, you're probably right.
This is from Clean Technica.
With LA's vote, America's 2 largest cities have said no to fossil gas.
The Los Angeles City Council voted to ban fossil fuels in new construction. The council told departments to...
Several other county councils have done that. We've talked about it on the show.
Yeah, they have. But I think Los Angeles is the second after New York.
After New York.
So these are the largest, couple of the largest cities in the country. The council told departments to develop a plan requiring, quote, all new residential and commercial buildings in Los Angeles to be built so they will achieve net zero emissions, end quote.
Well, the city's mayor summed up the significance of the vote by saying that the electrification movement is unstoppable.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Our forests are burning, the days are hotter, our floods are more extreme.
Yeah.
Do you want to fight the inevitable or co-author the necessary? Interesting quote.
It's an interesting quote. Okay, our next item is from Renews. And we have a picture of solar panels from the American...
Looks like solar panels to me. How'd that get up there?
Tom controls which camera is in use, and I control which picture is going up. And so Tom looks up sometimes and says, wait a minute.
Well, in case you didn't know what they are, those are solar panels.
Yep, from the American Public Power Association.
Hydeal, which is a company,
Yes.
picks EPC, which is another company, partners for PV, photovoltaic, hydrogen, photovoltaic, but it's generating hydrogen.
Yes.
Project in Spain. So I'll say that again. Hydeal picks EPC partners for PV to hydrogen project in Spain.
Right. Hydeal selected engineering, procurement, and construction partners for its initial phase of a multi-gigawatt solar-connected electrolyzer project in northern Spain.
So they're running an electrolyzer with solar panels.
The expectation is that 9.5 gigawatts of solar...
Gigawatts is gigawatts,
Man,
baby.
this is huge.
That's big.
Generating capacity will be installed along with 7.4 gigawatts of electrolyzer capacity. And
what they're basically doing is making hydrogen.
Yeah, but you know what is amazing to me? The engineers behind this have told the company about hydrogen. You know that the nature of hydrogen is very well known, and the company is putting billions of dollars into building a infrastructure that's going to produce hydrogen, and there isn't any market for it yet.
Well, basically, they're planning on using the hydrogen basically as a storage. It's storing energy.
You can do a lot with hydrogen, and they know it. You can use it instead of natural gas. It requires a little adaptation, but
a few years ago, there wasn't really any way to contain hydrogen, and they've covered that. You can now store it.
Yeah.
In this particular case, they're storing it underground.
Yes. Okay, should we go?
Ideal España, the company, will deliver competitive renewable hydrogen to an industrial complex in northern Spain. The total installed capacity will reach 9.5 gigawatts of solar and 7.5 gigawatts of electrolyzer capacity.
Yes.
Which would produce about 300,000 tons of green hydrogen a year.
300,000
And it's green because it's produced.
Now, do you suppose that blimp I was talking about earlier could use that to lift it up?
Well, yeah. That's what they use. They don't use gas anymore ever since the
Hindenburg.
Huh?
The Hindenburg.
Hindenburg.
Yeah. The Hindenburg burned up, and the reason was partly because it was filled with hydrogen. If it had been filled with helium, that would never have happened. But there's not a lot of helium around. Nevertheless,
and hydrogen,
we don't need combustion.
Hydrogen's much lighter than helium.
Yeah, we don't need combustion to drive these things anymore.
No.
So that Hindenburg style thing could be revisited. Okay, we've got an item from Stanford News. You were talking about small modular reactors earlier in a picture of one.
That's what they're supposedly making here.
This is small. You see that circle they're working on? This is small. This is a small modular reactor.
Doesn't look too small to me.
Yeah, it doesn't look too small to me.
Well, Stanford, which is a school, Stanford-led research finds small modular reactors will exacerbate the challenges of nuclear waste. Huh?
Yeah.
I thought they were supposed to solve it.
Well, yeah. Let me read this and then we can discuss it. Industry analysts say the advanced modular designs for nuclear plants will be cheaper and produce fewer radioactive byproducts than conventional reactors. A study that was published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences says differently.
Well, according to Stanford, which is quoted here in the article, small modular reactors, long touted as the future of nuclear energy, will actually generate more radioactive waste than conventional power plants.
Yeah, and a fair amount more.
Nuclear generators generate reliable supplies of electricity with limited greenhouse gas emissions. But a nuclear power plant that generates 1,000 megawatts, that's a gigawatt by the way, of electric power also produces radioactive waste that must be isolated from the environment for hundreds of thousands of years. They got no place to put this waste.
And hundreds of thousands of years.
And they can't bring it on the highways.
People don't have any idea of what is meant by hundreds of thousands of years. 5,000 years ago, the most advanced civilizations on Earth were in Babylon and Egypt.
And 10,000 years ago, everybody was walking around like alley-oop.
I think that's correct, yes. And what we're talking about is 20 times the time that has passed since ancient Egypt. We're really looking that far into the future and saying, yeah, we're ready to deal with this.
I don't think so.
I don't
well,
think so.
As the article says, I think I read it or read it, nuclear energy is not risk-free.
Yes.
The National Academy of Sciences says that most small modular reactor designs will increase the volume of nuclear waste by factors of 2 to 30.
2 to 30. Now, I said that it was not a trivial amount. That's not a trivial amount.
2 might argue with you, but not 30.
No. Okay.
This is Wednesday.
We're up to Wednesday.
Huh? And we got a picture.
The 1st of June.
Well, let's see, what can I do to get that picture up? There we go.
There you go.
And once we got the picture up, let's look at it.
Yeah.
Amazing. The name of that picture is Transmission Lines.
Well, isn't that amazing? This is from CNN.
Energy experts sound the alarm about the U.S. electric grid.
Yeah, forecasters say this will be a hotter than normal summer, and electricity experts and officials are warning that states may not have enough power to meet demand in the coming months. But many of the nation's grid operators are also not taking climate change into account in their planning.
Well, the article says that the electricity system is old.
Yep.
And a lot of the infrastructure was built before we started thinking about climate change.
Yeah.
It's not designed to withstand the impacts of climate change.
Right.
And that's basically what this article is about.
Yeah. Okay, should we go on?
Well, compounding the U.S. power grid supply and demand problem is drought.
Yeah.
Okay. There's been a 2%, and this we've talked about on the show, there's been a 2% loss of reliable hydropower for the nation's power-producing dams.
And you know what? Nuclear power plants can't produce energy if they can't be cooled. And many of them are dependent on water
that same
supplies
water
for cooling.
Add that to the rapid retirement of many coal power plants.
Coal plants need
They need water too.
They need water. We had a picture a couple of years ago of an Indian coal burning power plant that had to shut down altogether because the canal that was bringing it
There wasn't any water left.
There wasn't any water in it. Yeah, okay. Our next item is from Energy Digital, and we have a picture of
can't find a picture
somebody.
Here.
It's up.
Somebody's charging their car.
That's right. So what do you have for a title?
Well, this is interesting. Sales of electric cars doubled to a record 6.6 million in 2021.
Right. Electric car sales doubled in 2021 to 6.6 million and remain strong in 2022. But future growth will demand greater efforts to diversify battery making and ensure critical mineral supplies to reduce the risks of bottlenecks and price rises, an International Energy Agency report says.
Well, they're selling more new electric cars each week,
Yeah.
than they did the whole year 2012.
That doesn't surprise me.
The number of electric cars on the world's roads by the end of 2021 was about 16 million, triple the amount in 2018.
Yes.
So it's happening rapidly.
It is indeed. And you know, today I saw another article where they were talking about a company that opened up a showroom, and they said people are coming in and asking for electric vehicles. They want to try out electric vehicles because the price of gas has gone so high.
Mm-hmm.
So
diesel fuel's over $6 a gallon. I've never seen it that high.
I haven't, but then, you know, I don't drive, so. Okay, our last item is coming up, and we have a picture of a train.
We got a train here.
This is not.
It's not just an ordinary train.
No, this is not a choo-choo train. This is an electric train.
Well, it's not an electric train either.
Oh.
I had one of them under my Christmas tree.
Oh, okay. Well, this train is running on electricity, and it's in Australia. And this particular article is from Clean Technica.
And it says, and I quote, "An electric train that never needs charging. It's real."
Yeah. Okay, this train does not need charging, and it just runs. Okay, let me read the synopsis. NBC News recently reported on an electric train that never needs to be plugged in to keep running. The train goes on battery power to a mine at the top of a mountain. And you can see this train, you know, is fairly long in the picture.
Looks flat.
Where it is loaded with ore. And then it comes back down by gravity with regenerative braking, recharging the batteries on the train.
Well, this is what they say from the article. The train powers itself up a mountain to the top of a mine, where it gets loaded up with rocks or coal, etc. Then it just rolls down a mountain powered by gravity. Okay, with the engineer riding the regenerative brakes the whole way down.
Yeah, and it sounds like an internal motion machine.
Then
but
it dumps its load, It powers itself, which is now empty, back up to the top of the mine.
Yeah.
On the energy it gained from the regenerative system.
That's right.
Magic.
Well, it's not magic. What it's doing is it's using the gravity, the weight of all the
Yeah, it's
ore.
much heavier going downhill than
Yeah,
it's going
so
back up.
you can just generate a whole bunch of electricity going down that mountain, and then you've got the batteries charged, so that is enough electricity to go up the mountain again. That train is fairly long.
I'll show a picture of it again
Yeah.
if I can. Bingo, come on, there we go. Yeah, that's a long train. And it's all ore. Wow, that is long. That train is huge.
Yeah. When I was a little kid, we used to sit at the railroad crossing waiting for the train to go by, and as little kids, we would count the cars.
Uh-huh.
And I remember trains that had well over 100 cars.
Is that so?
Yeah. But the train I really remember was a train hauled by a steam engine that was hauling steam engines out of the rail yards in Chicago.
I bet you that was
to
interesting.
take them someplace to be
I bet you
torn
somewhere there's a
apart.
picture of that.
I don't know, but there were 74 locomotives, as I remember.
Wow.
And they were in every state of disrepair you could possibly imagine. And, you know.
Well, they got a video at this link. It's not going to show you a train. It's going to show you a truck.
Yes.
But it's doing the same thing.
Yes.
It's heading up empty, filling up, cruising down to the bottom and heading up again.
Yeah. So the way that it's fueled is by the weight of the ore it's carrying.
That's basically what's doing it.
Okay, we are at the end of the rope here.
We are here. I'm going to put us both up.
I think that's an excellent
That might be a
idea.
good
Let me
idea.
put up the final thing, which says, have a charmingly lovely week. How about that?
Well, I don't know how charmingly, but I'll
Well,
take your word
I'm
for
just
it.
wishing people that that people will have a charmingly lovely week. So we should wave goodbye.
Adios, amigos. Y'all come back and see us now.
I knew you were going to say that. See you later.